How much money do you need if you want to leave the US and move abroad? I get this question all the time. And y'all, the answer might not be one that you like. It depends. It depends on where you're going. It depends on what your money situation is right now. It depends on how soon you're trying to leave. It depends on where you're moving from. It depends on all the things that you personally need to do before you move. Let's talk examples. Me and my husband, whenever we left, our lease was up in our townhome, so we didn't have to worry about that. So essentially for us, it was no kids, no pets, no mortgage. So for us, the main thing was just the general moving expenses, buying things like boxes. We got a storage unit that we pay for, so that is a monthly expense that we have. And then it was, buying the flight to our first place. So we've been traveling as digital nomads. We've been in 9 different countries this year. We started off in Brazil. So whenever we left the US, we had our accommodations for a full month in Brazil, and then we had a flight to Vietnam because that was our second destination. For you, it might look a little different. In my opinion, you don't necessarily need to have a ton of money saved because the idea is that you're going to live abroad. Just like you're living in the US right now, you make money. So you want to be making money while you're abroad as well. And if you want more resources on like side hustles, income streams, remote jobs, get my cash flow come up checklist if you want to learn how to make more money from anywhere in the world. Overall, it depends. I would recommend at least having enough money to cover like your first 30 to 60 days. But it's really going to depend on where it is you're going, your apartment. If you're doing somewhere long term, you might have to put down a deposit just like you would in the US. Or if you are going to be trying to move with furniture, which I don't recommend, like just get new stuff whenever you move. But if you're moving some extra stuff with you, that might be an expense. If you move into an apartment that's furnished, you don't got to worry about that. But if you are like, I want to move somewhere that's empty, so you might want to save money for buying for that stuff. I honestly recommend keeping your first place, like your first destination that you move to. I just recommend keeping it super simple. Like get into the mode of living abroad and like don't make things super complicated for yourself. And outside of that, you're going to have not all the same expenses you'll have in the US. Like you probably aren't going to have like gas, you might not have to pay like Wi-Fi or a light bill, but just like your everyday life, like, groceries, like, Ubers or, taxis. But y'all, life outside of the US it's a lot less expensive. Trust me, in most places. I mean, don't go somewhere like Switzerland, but in most places it's a lot less expensive. But in my opinion, you don't need to save a bunch of money to move abroad. Like I would focus on writing out everything that you need. I have that in my Move Abroad resource guide, which is in the top of my profile. And then I also have the cash flow come up checklist if you want to learn how to make more money.